Do you think that the appropriate process to run the International Ice Hockey Federation is to start being a dentist?
It's a good question, but I think maybe I started to be a hockey player, and then I was 10 years referee actually in Switzerland, being in the top league for 6 years. So I would say that referee, ice hockey referee on the ice, being on the ice, was a very, very good school to do what I'm doing now.
My sense as well is if you're a player, your goal is to antagonize and to score goals. If you're a referee, your goal is to generate some kind of consensus and develop some resolution. So that's how you've become a stupendous international executive. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, and as a dentist, I'm building bridges, you know, and
both literally and figuratively.
Yes,
right.
And I'm being a Swiss. I mean, you know, as Swiss people, we always actually trying to look for compromises, and the unbelievable and fantastic thing to work in sport is to work with so many different cultures. You would agree that a Russian is so different than a Swede, and a Swede to a Finn, and a Finn to the American, and an American, even American to the Canadian. They are so much different. So being there in between, and like a chef d'orchestre, you know, you can find the good balance in between the different parties, and find a consensus to do the good thing for sport.
Now, some people who use that analogy end up closing their restaurants because the food is so bad. So, but you've been there for a long time, and you've been able to understand the dynamics of an evolving sport. How much of your job is game, ice related? How much of it is politics? How much of it is psychiatry?
I would say politics is my main job. Being a member of the IOC, being the president for 23 years now, I think politics is really one of my main part I'm doing. As I said, try to bring people together and find this good balance. And for sure, I mean, my heart, I'm coming from ice hockey. I love the game, so I really work, I would say, very, very intense in maybe not for a long time, but I like to feel the game. I like to listen. Do we have to change this rule? What do we have to do in the different competition tournaments? So, but politics is my main job.
Well, the news flash for people who only want to skim the surface is that you have an Olympics coming up in Korea, and the NHL will not be there, and therefore, does the sport survive? What are the problems? Maybe we can provide some different perspective and talk about what life will be like preparing for these and future Olympics without the NHL participating.
Yeah, first of all, I was very much disappointed. I'm still very much disappointed, but we have to look forward. So, and we have more to speak about the people that will be there, the athletes that will be there. So we have still great athletes that will be there, great hockey players, and it's maybe also time to have new heroes. I'm 100% sure that in Pyeongchang, new heroes will be born, scoring, I mean, making the difference, and that gives actually the space for this new, say, generation, maybe for different players, and we will have a great tournament. Hockey is a great game. Any level you go and watch a hockey game, even at the lowest level, there is always something happening on the ice. There is always emotion. There is always is going on. So I'm not so much concerned about that. But still, for sure, I miss the big names.
Well, and of course it grabs the headlines now, and it'll grab the headlines in Pyeongchang. But after that, you have 4 more years to then pick up whatever positives were generated in Korea and move forward. Great development program. What does the organization that you chair do to promote and develop the sport generally?
So I think our main job is to organize different world championships in different places in the world. We organize around 30 to 35 different world championships, women and men, women under 18 and senior. On the men we have under 18, 20 and the seniors, and on the different levels. So this is I would say this is our main task. On the other point is having the relationship with the other federations, Winter Sports Federation and Summer, being an IOC member, having this contact with the IOC and the Olympic movement, and for sure with the NHL. This is also one of our main tasks. Even now the NHL tries to have a personal contact with the leagues in Europe and the clubs. We saw that last weekend, but it's not a big concern, so that they will need us anyway. So it's how do you say, and then have actually a look on the rules, changing the rules, adjusting, adapting the rules, and on the good governance actually, to teach and to tell actually the member national federation about good government, statutes, bylaws, financing. So this is, I would say, in generally, and help the development. This is generally our task.
You're a senior statesman in the industry. People respect what you've done. You are a pinnacle of stability in the industry. How have things changed, not on the ice, but off the ice, with more global television contracts and social media, etc.? What are the biggest change agents from, let's say, when you started this job?
The money.
Yeah.
The money.
Yeah.
I mean, I was elected Swiss president in '85, and then elected in the IIHF as a council member in '86. So when you see the budget we had at that time, maybe it was between 4 or 5 million. Now in the Olympic year, we are more near to 80 million Swiss francs budget than it was in the 80s, you know. And beginning 90s, when I see especially actually soccer, football, FIFA, with the TV rights and also IOC, we, in a different way also us. I mean, we have, I would say, 4 or 5, 6 times more money now than we had in the 90s. So money was a huge change in actually generating sport income.
Is the money going to the right places?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, yeah. I think we are lucky here. We have a budget, as I said, in the normal year of 35 million Swiss francs. We spend actually over 92% of the money going back to the sport, and we have around, I don't know, 8 to 10% of the money going for administration costs. So we are quite good on that, and we have also good governance. How do you say? Practice in our federation since many years, being in Switzerland, controlled by the three tax authorities. Actually, in our case, I must say we were away from scandals. We were also a bit lucky. We didn't have so much money.
Refreshing.
You know? Yeah.
Refreshing.
You know, if the more money you have, I would say the more rats are coming. So you know, trying to grab money. So we are not rich, but we are not poor. So we have a good balance. So I feel really fine about the money we have, and this is good.
Harder to be transparent in the future with more money and therefore more rats?
Yeah, we have we are very transparent in our federation. We should for sure just adjust some good governance rules and adapt as the time today it is. You know, people asking for more transparency, but I must say I was used to, especially also as my education I had to be transparent, and we are, I would say I'm very happy the way we organize and we run our federation, the people running our federation.
Hockey is a global sport. No one would argue that soccer isn't football, isn't probably number one. Hard to know where to measure it by, but hockey becoming more international every day. Are you pleased? Not pleased with the lack of Olympic participation, but are you pleased with Gary Bettman going to China and beginning regular seasons in Eastern Europe and all of those things that he's trying to do to move the game, his NHL game, to be more international?
No, the positive thing is for sure is that he is working for hockey, developing, pushing, promoting ice hockey. So this is the very good point. Where I'm not so happy is that we should coordinate that. I'm a little bit disappointed on that we do not have this cooperation together. That we have some advantages in China that Gary and the NHL does not have. Being a member of the Olympic movement, the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation, and having me being in the coordination commission of Beijing 22, having the relationship with the government and the NOC, we could coordinate in a way where we had a synergy to have a much better impact, especially in China, and not going to Korea. For me, this is if on one side you want to promote the game, you know, and you speak about China, about Beijing, maybe look at the map where Korea is. You know, it's not so far away from China, Beijing. So I would say missing Pyeongchang is not really developing the game in Asia.
Now, Gary Bettman would say, he said this morning, that a lot of the issue was the IOC, not you, not paying certain expenses, not acknowledging what he needs to close down the season for 3 weeks during the year. Is there some sensitivity to all of that?
It's always the same problem, you know, closing the league for 2 weeks, I mean 2.5 weeks. They play the same number of games. So he has 82 regular season games. Yeah. So he has the income. And you know, okay, we are in February. Maybe for some owners, they have more spectators in February than they have in a tight schedule as they have. But you know, in some places you will not really increase the number of spectators if you play in February and in March or in a tight schedule. Ottawa being in the semifinal of the conference last year and not filling the arena, it's not a problem being in the Olympics or not. So, you know, I understand Gary that for some business reason he couldn't decide. I mean, and maybe for some money reason. I mean, some important steps went wrong. First of all, the IOC telling us they will not pay the insurance and the transportation, so we could find the money. The second point is Gary asking the players to extend the CBA for an extra 2 years. So not asking really, but really asking. You know, I mean, he said I didn't really put that in the basket as a negotiation, and then it went in the wrong direction. But at least it was a money question for him, for the players, and for the league. I'm here for sport, so too bad. So I'm not so happy they're not coming, but I have to live with that.
Well, you have to live with that, and then I guess the final question, moving on from that, where is the sport of hockey broadly defined 5 years from now?
Oh, I think we will have 5 years from now. We will have actually the Olympic Games in Beijing. I believe in our sport, and I would just ask maybe the NHL and the KHL. We have to sit together and develop a strategy how we can work, not to actually be in competition. So we have to work together. Actually, you know, in North America, they are the best league in the world. This is their place. But if they go internationally, I always say the American with the big shoes and the big cigars when they are coming. So they should be a little bit more careful. So we have maybe a better approach to different people, to different markets than they have, you know, thinking that they are just the best in the world. They are the best league here in the world.